Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the For Now podcast. This is one of the few times where you actually get to hear all four beautiful voices: Connor, Andrew, Jacob, and myself, your hostess with the mostest. We're actually in Fox Studios right now with a live audience, and by Fox Studios I mean Andrew's apartment, and by live audience I mean Seth. We're blowing up.
Don't know if you could hear that, but Seth was wooing us.
Oh yeah, sorry, I don't know.
Thank you, Seth.
Yeah, thank you, Seth. Thank you, Seth.
It's crazy that you
Oh, there he was again.
he just ran onto the stage.
And bowed.
We're blowing up. We're going viral. I think last time I checked, we were number 2 on Spotify's podcast with the name For Now,
Yep.
and its title. But anyways, the topic today is Revolutionary War. Gentlemen, please, anyone who wants to speak.
Can you introduce us?
No. I mean, they know our voices, but if you want me to introduce, I can.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they know our voice.
Okay, to my left is the man, the myth, the legend, the one with the flowy hair, the one who looks like he's lived on a beach for 30 years, but he's only 21. Or is he 20 still? I don't know.
21.
Okay, good. Connor, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Tanner. How are you, man?
Can I just say, I think you changed races because you are so tan now. You went from white to, I'm not going to say what, but
I actually...
We'd build a wall around it.
Well, look.
No.
Thank you for referencing that,
Yeah,
Jacob.
thanks.
Because I was going to allude to that with that kind of comment. So thank you for that. I'm not going to say I changed races, but it's very possible.
Let's just say you went from a 100 meter to a marathon. Because this guy changed races.
I think
No.
Jacob wants to be introduced now because I was supposed to introduce him and then he talked. So, Jacob,
I couldn't help it.
I know. You had
There
to.
he is. There he is with that
Like
cute
any
smile.
Introduction and all.
Okay, this man has transformed my life. His hair is so long that you can grab it from 5 feet behind him.
It really is that long.
He's an upcoming comedian, ladies and gentlemen, Jacob.
Hello? Hold on, my hair seems to be caught in the trash can behind me, so let me just yank it through. Now I can pay full attention. Hello, it is I, Jacob. Sorry about my earlier comments. I just couldn't help it.
It's okay.
Come in strong.
It's okay. It may or may not be edited out. It depends on what the fourth person in this podcast does. This is the man. Okay, this is the invisible hand. Okay, this is the one who edits, the one who produces, mixes, whatever you want to call it, and publishes it on YouTube now. Because I resigned from that position because I had no fucking idea what I was doing. And
You did a pretty good job. Though,
No, I
honestly,
absolutely
with the first
did
couple
not.
Episodes.
I did not.
I thought they sounded pretty good for the most part.
minus the echoing, and then minusing the fact that I made an episode where it was just my voice and you guys in the back. anyways, the
We
person
didn't
who's
have to
publishing
say
now.
that's exactly what that episode was.
It really was, and I had to delete it because then someone told me to, and I'm glad he did. Andrew,
Hi, Tanner. Thanks a lot for the great introduction. I have big shoes to fill in your absence of uploading the videos to YouTube.
Yeah, I remember, Andrew. You've kind of taken on, Tanner's style, and currently, listeners, you can probably hear it, but our voices are indecipherable to Andrew's. You cannot hear them.
I know you mentioned Connor, sort of
Yeah.
changing races. I'm sort of changing my entire body to Tanner's.
are you going through like one of those transformations? Are you like on that
Have you ever seen?
arachnophobia books or whatever they're called, where it like transformation from a monkey
Are you
to a
going through
man?
an,
It's a bit like that,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Connor, what were you going to say?
are you going through like an intermittent fasting program right now? Is that
It's also a bit
Well,
like that.
Oh,
I
you
am.
meant
Okay.
physically.
Yeah,
Like-
so as you know,
I don't eat at all from the hours of 11 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Oh, so you have that 1 hour.
I have 1 hour where I have a bunch of meals that I make during those other hours.
Sure.
And I prepare them and I just lay them out.
Sure.
And then during that 1 hour, I just go to every meal: breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffee, milkshake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love.
And I just eat it all at once.
That big meal of coffee in around like 4 p.m. That's
Well,
my
I mean,
favorite
Well,
meal.
he has to
Yeah.
eat at 10.
Normally,
but-
I just have like a couple cups of coffee, and then I'm good because the coffee fills me up. So I just have that all at once now.
And you said you're trying to become Tanner. If I remember correctly,
I think I'm pretty close to Tanner right now.
If I remember correctly, the doctor kind of made up a new name. Instead of transsexual, he said Tanner sexual.
Yeah, that doctor did make up the name
Tansexual.
Tansexual.
Yeah,
Tansexual. That is
The
a
doctor we all look to for any medical guidance.
that is a new term now set in the medical books.
Yep.
It's
They
kind
wrote
of-
it, published it, shipped it out.
It's in the DSM-6, if I'm correct.
Yeah, well, it came out the July edition of what's it called? Medical
The bio-
MD.
Oh wait, sorry, the
MD?
encyclopedia.
The medical encyclopedia.
The medical MD.
No, you had the medical Bible, I believe.
medical
You're
Bible.
correct.
The
You're
medical
correct.
Bible.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say.
The medical
yes.
Torah. We all
Yeah,
know what that is.
whichever religion these doctors are.
You do whatever religion you. Well, I mean, what's the topic?
Well,
Oh yes, we're going down a dark path.
I just want to say I'm doing good, Tanner.
Yes.
Before we get into the topic, I want to ask you, Tanner.
Yeah.
How are you doing? What's going on with you?
The truth is that I've been going through some things.
Yeah.
You look more like Andrew.
Yep.
And vice versa.
Going through some physical changes. My voice is starting to drop a little bit. I'm starting to get a little hair down below.
On your thighs.
Yeah, down there. I meant my legs. I'm starting to get hair on my legs, and which is interesting because I have a full beard, but I'd never had hair on my legs until now. I grew a beard, hairless on my legs.
Well,
But now I have hair
I
on
wouldn't
my
say
legs.
grew.
That's very
I
weird,
would say I've walked in and I've seen you shaving your legs
Shut up.
to
Shut up.
to tape the hair to your
Stop.
face.
I just wanted to grow in quicker, okay? So I shaved since I was 12. Okay? 8 years in the making. It's finally happening. Don't ruin this moment for me.
See, I always wonder why your beard was a different color than your hair.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's black.
Can we move on? God, I don't want to
I
talk
was wondering
about
why
this.
you had. Oh, okay, I'm
I
sorry.
don't want to talk. It's whatever.
We
but
must
I'm
get to
doing
the
okay.
topic. We must get to the topic.
I'm doing okay. Today's topic is the Revolutionary War, and I don't know exactly how this is going to go or what route this is going to take, but I am beyond ready.
The Revolutionary War.
What a
Is the
time!
topic.
God, what? It was revolutionary. That time, I'll tell you what.
But what a war!
It was.
What a revolution.
It was a war of revolution.
I know what it is, but just so everybody else, the audience listening, knows what it is. Can somebody please
Seth.
tell me who the Revolutionary
Seth, do you know
War
what the Revolutionary War is? Or...
Well, this is for Seth.
Oh,
He said he doesn't know what it is.
Our audience does not know.
And I would like somebody here to please explain to me what the Revolutionary War is.
All right, so I can kind of hop in here and explain it a little bit if you would so desire.
Thank you.
I do desire that.
The Revolutionary War was about United States colonies getting fed up with the prices of tea, and so they decided to attack and murder several UK citizens because of the increase in price. And so it was revolutionary because after the war, the price of tea dropped about $3.
It's very interesting.
Did you say $3?
Yes, $3. Well, back then it was called $3.
Can you back up for a second here? You said
Yeah.
we were fighting the UK
Mm-hmm.
over the price of tea.
Yep.
But aren't we Americans?
Yep.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but when was the last time? Like, I haven't seen an American drink tea in probably forever.
Oh, I just had a cup of tea this morning.
You just had a cup of tea this morning?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a fairly common thing here. I mean, we copy a lot of things from the British. You know, we copied everything from them during the Revolutionary War. We stole everything from them. We're really terrible to them.
Yeah, their battle tactics. We actually just set up their exact formations, but just
and guerrilla
reverse.
warfare. That's when guerrilla
Yeah.
warfare
That's when
started.
tanks came out too.
Yeah.
Oh, the German tanks?
Yeah, we brought up the
Yeah,
German
which
tanks
ones?
against.
The American tanks.
Well-
America.
Which is actually, that's the part that kind of confuses me a little bit, is the fact that we had tanks, but we didn't have cars or skyscrapers or anything.
Well, before we get too lost in the weeds,
I'm sorry.
I do want to just, obviously, like, we know history is a little weird.
But you understand where I'm coming from, right? Where it's a little baffling that we had tanks for the Revolutionary War, and here we are still using muskets and
I mean, at the same time, you can think about it.
horses.
People tie a bunch of horses together and they use that as a tank.
Yeah, I think the modern tank is very different from the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, the
tank.
Revolutionary War was also revolutionary in the sense that how they reinvented the tank. Because beforehand, the tank used to just be a bunch of turtle shells up at the front, held by the 1st Battalion, but then it became just a bunch of horses taped together.
I'm sorry. You guys might have misinterpreted when I meant the German tanks. What I meant by that is that all the German horses that were imported to the United States to have those tanks in the Revolutionary War. I didn't mean like World War II kind of tanks, which is a whole nother episode.
No, that'd be silly.
I didn't mean like the metal ones. I meant like the imported.
Those are
German.
invented war.
Metal wasn't invented until the 19th century.
That is true. Yep. That is
And
true.
when was the Revolutionary War? That was the 18th century?
It was the 18th century.
The 18th century.
By my calculations, Connor is correct. I have my abacus.
Well, I said
right
the
here.
18th century first, so really I'm correct.
Well, I think
If
Connor.
you're going to say that.
I do want to say I think Connor agreeing with you does have the right to be right here.
Yeah, but I wasn't I correct first? Why didn't you say that I was correct after
I don't think you
said
were
the
correct
18th
because you did
century?
have a tone of questioning in your voice.
A
lack of
I didn't
confidence.
sense that tone, but I guess if that's how it came off to you guys, I'm really sorry about that. Just, mention it to me the next time it sounds like I'm questioning rather than
Okay,
stating
right
a
now?
fact that deserves to be
all
recognized.
I'll say is I forgive you.
And
Thanks,
I will
Connor.
say,
That's all.
Connor, thank you for being right on that one as well. I think, according to my calculations, you are correct on forgiving him.
Yeah.
So these tanks. So I'm picturing this must have been extremely intimidating to the redcoats. Is 4 German horses taped together.
And you've got to understand, I mean, these German horses,
They're fast.
they're fast.
They're
and
German.
They're German.
I mean, come on.
and
They're
they're
goose stepping.
massive. They are massive horses. They're at least 10 feet in width.
Yeah.
At least, at the very least. I mean,
Each horse.
well, so you also have to think about this. These horses didn't go on the offensive. They could take multiple bullet shots. I mean,
Yeah,
it was they would not go down.
they were tanks.
I agree.
Yeah, they. I remember at one point the Redcoats started using German Lugers, and they were just unable to even dent a horse.
I'm actually
Well, I think we're kind of forgetting why. It's their genetics. We were forgetting that they are actually great grandchildren of centaurs, and that's why they are considered invincible in the sense of. I
Yep.
mean, if we remember centaurs and how
Oh, I do.
I remember
I
centaurs.
remember when I was young.
Raise your hand here if you don't remember what a centaur is.
Nobody's raising their hand.
We all
Oh,
remember
wait,
centaurs.
our audience, Seth.
Our whole audience.
Every single person in the audience is actually raising their hands.
Seth,
right
are you
now.
telling me you don't know what a centaur is? You don't remember?
All right.
He doesn't
for the-
remember what a centaur is.
What about the rest of you in the audience? Okay, yeah,
we're
nobody
getting
knows what a
nonstop
centaur
hands.
is.
We're actually they just did a wave. That was pretty cool.
Wow, that was amazing. They're very in sync right now.
Connor, as the centaur expert here, can you please remind the audience what a centaur is?
The centaur is the original tank. You have to understand the word tank is actually derived from centaur. So
Yeah.
When you think of tank in like this
Well-
big battle formation,
well, wait.
centaurs were no
the
centaur
word,
expert here.
The word tank was. I mean, I just want you to clear something up.
Okay.
How is the word tank derived from the word centaur?
Okay. Think about it like this.
Okay.
All right.
I'm prepared
so
to think about it.
Centaur is Latin.
Okay.
But it's not.
From
It's
my
actually Greek.
understanding, it's Latin in its pronunciation, but it's Greek in its language.
Well, what does it? What does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Forgot about
what
that.
is it? What does centaur stand for?
tank?
So it's just the literal definition.
It's a literal
Translation,
definition.
yeah. Okay.
See, you've got to understand these great big beasts of immense power. It
I don't-
was
I mean, I just
something
care more-
incredible to witness during the times when I think Jesus Christ was around, or maybe even earlier.
Yeah,
These
canonically,
immense
Jesus
beings.
Christ was around when centaurs were roaming.
I mean,
It was just
everybody's
Jesus
seen
Christ
that.
and centaurs, and then he created the rest.
Everybody has seen that painting with Jesus Christ riding the centaur.
You remember the original Last Supper was him sitting with 12 centaurs. For those of you that haven't seen the painting, it is beautiful.
I have it right here, ruffle, ruffle, ruffle. It's amazing. I'm looking at the paper right now.
Please, Connor, don't snack while we're recording.
I'm sorry, I really like Ruffles. They're
You're
probably
getting
my
them all
favorite
over
chip.
the
Oh,
painting.
no, this is an
Oh,
original
no.
copy.
That's the original. That thing's worth like $3 million.
Why did you bring the original copy to a podcast recording? It's only audio.
Because I'm a centaur expert.
Oh no, you're using it as a napkin to brush salts off of your
You
lips.
disgusting monster.
These Ruffles, I got the barbecue flavor, and they're just so messy.
You're
so
pouring
sorry.
barbecue on it too.
Why?
Okay,
You just hate this painting.
All right,
Can I bring it back?
I think we are getting a little off topic.
We're getting a
The
little
point
over
is,
the weeds
centaurs
here.
were the original tanks, and that's how it's related to the Revolutionary War, and it's crazy. I don't know if you had another point that you wanted to bring up, Tanner, about
I mean,
that.
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
But then we went down a path of Jesus Christ and the Last Supper.
Well, I mean, I'm
and then
wondering why you
centaurs.
It's very
I'm
important.
wondering why you brought a centaur expert onto the podcast if you
didn't
didn't want to talk
expect that,
about
yeah.
centaurs.
I mean, I did, but then you know what? It is what it is. I'm glad that we all know what centaurs are now, and we've explained that.
it's not something that's very common knowledge, I would say.
You know, you're right. I honestly, I mean, I thought I knew a little bit about centaurs, but then when you went into depth about their origin and how it's actually Latin, but the language is Greek,
Yes.
that's fascinating. I didn't know the word tank derived from the Latin
Centaur.
term centaur.
I'm still
Yes.
kind of confused about that.
I'm not gonna lie. There's
Well-
a gray area, and I'm in it right now, but I think I'll understand
Look,
later.
all I'll say with centaurology is that for the most part, everything's gray area. And you kind of just study what you want to study.
It's like the newest field, the newest unexplored field that all the greatest minds are going into now, right?
Yeah, I studied in college.
It's like the rocket science of the 2000s.
Yes.
Sorry to dive a little bit more into this, but I mean, this is really interesting to talk about. But your study into centaurology was very specific. Could you go over like just how deep, like minute your actual
think-
major into centaurology was?
I think what I might do is have like a separate aside where I talk very in depth 30 minutes about this, because I wrote a whole dissertation on hooves of centaurs and how when they trample on the ground, it brings up this little magic, and it's just
They bring
something
up
to
literal magic.
read my dissertation.
and
I
your
brought it with
dissertation,
me.
your dissertation was all about how a centaur army could easily defeat a human army on horseback.
All I'll say about that dissertation is that I failed, and all of my professors.
Well,
hated
yeah,
it.
it's because your calculations were off because you said that the mass of a centaur was equal to that of an ant because you said they have hollow bones and skin.
Well, I said the mass of the centaur body was equal to the ant. See, their hooves have all of their weight. The hooves have hundreds of pounds in each individual hoof. That's why there's multiple hoofs for the centaur. That's why they evolved with that. Now, if you read the entire dissertation, there's a whole picture diagram that really explains the weight distribution of a centaur. Now, we can get into that at another time. See, to kind of bring it back to the Revolutionary War, which I also mentioned in my dissertation trademark, is that
Yeah, you trademarked the Revolutionary War a few years ago.
I trademarked the dissertation about my study of centaurs with the Revolutionary War. But these German horses during the Revolutionary War, they had, remarkable similarities to the centaur in the sense that their weight distribution was nearly opposite of the centaurs. It was in the top of their forehead, and it was like located nearly at the top, and then their hooves, it was this little pitter patter, but it really was frightening for the enemies. And and it's crazy because I mean the redcoats had never seen anything like this before. That's why it was such a scary thing.
Well, that's also why they had to tape them together, because if you think about it, since all the weight of their body was in their forehead, their heads were completely down and parallel to the ground, so the horses couldn't see where they're going. So we realized that these are monsters and can absorb so much firepower and everything like that. But because they couldn't see where they're going due to their massively heavy,
Disproportionate weight balance.
exactly, we had to tape them together so at least they could know where they're going.
Yeah. We also, if I remember from studying in college a little bit, I only minored in the Revolutionary War.
Oh, yeah.
But nonetheless, that we did tape anvils to the back of them. That way they could really hold them down from the back. So they would drag anvils like a chariot.
Yes, and that's an interesting point too, because when they didn't have handlers, since all their weight was at the front, a lot of times they would flip over basically
Yeah, they
as
would,
tanks,
like-
and so these anvils
would be
flip them
cartwheeling.
back up on their feet, and so they would basically be cartwheeling towards the enemy. This flying frenzy of forehead and anvil.
Imagine
it
if-
was a beautiful destruction site.
Imagine
during
if you
the
were a fine,
Revolutionary
you were a
War.
fine British citizen sipping a cup of tea, and suddenly, just on the hillside where you always do it every day, and then suddenly you hear this like, nay,
And you hear this light pitter patter.
and then you look up over the hill, and there is 20 horses taped together, cartwheeling down the hill at a mass. I'm assuming a very fast speed.
Very fast
It was
pace.
a lot of mass, a lot of force behind this.
They tried to
Just-
calculate the speed. They said it was around 90 miles an hour that these things would cartwheel.
just peeling up the grass as it tumbles towards your poor little Britain
Yeah.
body.
You
They were
guys-
unstoppable. They were
terrifying.
a force to reckon with, and
That's how we won the Revolutionary War.
they became so powerful that we actually had to put them all down at the end of the war.
But
After we
couldn't
won,
we couldn't shoot them in the head, so we just had to
we literally had to go underneath
Roll them into the ocean.
We had to, we had to direct them
And
to
that's-
the ocean, and they drowned. Every single one of them.
Although I think some of them started to float up and eventually evolved into manatees. If I'm correct.
I also agree, and I think this was kind of the start of the tension that led eventually to World War One.
The war between the
Yes.
ocean and the land.
Land and ocean.
Because I don't think they ever forgave us for destroying all
It was
of
the
their
world
centaur
fighting
habits.
itself.
It was the world of land fighting the world of water.
Yes.
The thing that baffles me about World War One is that the whole war was fought about how we were unfair to these horses. But at the end of the day, once they realized how destructive the horses were, they understood and
they
would
went
have done the
back.
same exact thing.
They understood, which is, I mean, I do get the sentiment. I mean, I did minor in World War One in college.
Double
And-
minor.
Double minor.
Yeah, I double minored, and I
Did you
Wait,
have a
what was your
Did you
major?
have a major? I was gonna say, what was
What's
your
your
major?
major?
I never really got the major.
That's a
Undeclared
problem.
major,
That's
but-
a problem, Jacob.
I had
Undeclared major with
I had-
two minors.
Well, I actually I had,
You had
about-
more than two minors?
I did. I dectuple minored.
Now, how many is that?
I believe
12,
that is
right?
12. Yes,
Yeah.
12. But so obviously I know a little bit about this topic, not a lot, but from what I learned, it is understandable that they were upset at the end of the war that we just threw them and rolled them into the ocean because, I mean, they were such a huge asset that it's like if someone, houses you and feeds you and then kicks you out on the curb the next day. There's going to be some tension there.
Absolutely.
I agree, and I don't know if people know about this. The only reason I know about this is because of my deep studies into centaurs. But George Washington actually had his own centaur. It was the last one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
He named it Cherry Tree.
that story, chopping down the cherry tree. That was when he had to put down his centaur.
Yeah. I remember because I minored
Chopped
in
it.
George Washington's cherry tree in college.
He chopped his centaur in half.
Yeah, it was really sad because
That seems very
so
violent.
from my understanding, he kind of stumbled upon this poor creature who was just all alone in the world.
it only had one nipple. It was severely injured.
Well, yeah. That's what's scary is that centaurs have no nipples, and this one had one. Somehow, some way, I'm not sure.
Well, as because I did major in centaur nipples.
You majored?
You made it.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. I minored.
Oh, that's
I'm
okay.
sorry. I
didn't think
I
they-
heavily minored.
I did not think that they offered centaur nipples as a major. That would be
They
a
didn't.
major
I just misspoke, guys.
oversight.
I
You
just
misspoke?
misspoke.
Well,
I
why would
misspoke.
you say something
Because
like
I
that?
really wanted to, but
Right.
the administration said that this is an obscene
You can only
topic.
have 21 minors
Yeah.
before it's excessive. And you wanted that to be your 22nd, but they wouldn't let you.
I mean,
But
it's okay.
I do remember is that they that centaurs don't have nipples, but that one had one which they actually called a centite, and that centite lactated profusely.
George Washington was very fond of the centite. That's why he was a man with such immense power.
Well, you say he was fond. I think
Well,
you
Martha-
mean he fondled
You hear
the centite.
You hear that like George Washington didn't have any teeth. He wore like these wooden what's the word for wooden dentures.
Yeah.
Dentures, yeah.
So I feel like the reason he got rid of his teeth
That's exactly
was
right,
so that he
Andrew.
could become a baby and only be able to suck on the nipple for
You are
sustenance.
exactly
Suck
right,
on the
Andrew. He
Senti.
actually, so the Senti is notoriously callous and it's as hard as a diamond. So when you first try to suckle on the
It
Senti,
destroys your teeth.
it destroys your teeth. And that's exactly what happened to George Washington.
Can I just say how interesting but also vital is how much he hated guns.
Yeah.
was
If I remember
crazy.
correctly, the
Yeah.
Redcoats had the muskets, but he refused to let the colonists use guns, and they could only use slingshots and the German tanks.
and the arms of bears that they like chopped off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But literally imagine just a line of Redcoats using muskets, and all you have is a slingshot and a giant horse, or a
Anvil
massive horse.
horse anvil combination.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really was kind of unfair towards the colonist side because he said, hey, we're not going to use guns. We're going to use these destructive machines.
But here he is renowned as one of the best generals to ever live, especially he changed the game.
He changed the game.
He
He
absolutely-
changed it so much we had to completely destroy an entire form of military, i.e., horses with anvils and German tanks, and then just completely throw them in the ocean. And later that caused World War II.
Whether it was positive or negative, he had a very significant impact.
He got a lot of work out of it because he was a general. He didn't have anything to do when there
Yep.
wasn't a war going on. So he started World War I so that he could have work and he could get paid. And I don't blame him for that.
Which is crazy considering that
Cost
that
of rent
was,
is very high.
considering that was almost 100 years after the Revolutionary War. He caused World War One.
Can you imagine the cost of the rent at the
And
White
he
House?
was dead.
You need to make a lot of money to rent a room at the White House.
Absolutely.
Yeah, actually, I did minor in White House room rent, so I can tell you that it does cost anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 a night. Back then, and that was back then, so inflation would make it in the millions today.
Can I ask how many people were in that college class?
Myself.
Seth just chimed in and he said 12.
Well,
Seth was
I-
was he a classmate
Seth,
of
were you
yours?
in that class?
He was the professor,
Oh.
so yeah, I did. I
This
I
must
wanted
be
to.
pretty awkward for you meeting your professor in the audience of your podcast. recording.
Yeah, and he gave me
not,
an
not,
F.
not in the audience of your White House
Yeah.
price lecture.
So, fellas, I think we pretty much covered the entire Revolutionary War
Yeah,
and
I
all of
think
its
so.
history.
I don't
yeah.
think so. I mean, we covered the main points, which was the
Centaurs.
Centaurs and George
George
Washington,
Washington.
and
That's-
what else is there?
Some
German
tea
tanks.
and
The
German
audience member just said
Thank you, audience.
German tanks.
Well, I guess in that case, guys, I think we should wrap up this podcast episode with fast forward to our favorite segment of this podcast, where we talk about a certain topic, tips with Tanner. And this week, it's actually going to be 18th century dating tips, because my oh my, I'm tired of reading these love novels from the 18th century,
The
Fellas.
18th and the century.
15th and a century. Fellas, Connor, please. 18th century.
My
tips.
biggest tip for anybody who's trying to date in the 18th century, anybody at all who has any interest in this, is honestly use a centaur. That would be my biggest tip.
What do you mean by that, though? Use a centaur?
Well,
Like-
so there were a bunch of centaur remains, burial sites that were available to people during
Sure.
the 18th century, and it's very nourishing for sexual purposes.
Okay, so you think they should bring their date to maybe perhaps a centaur
Mount
burial
them
site?
on top of the centaur burial sites.
So like have a nice romantic picnic
Yeah.
on a centaur
Yeah,
burial ground.
it's very good. I promise.
Huh. That sounds like a good setting for
It's very interesting.
very interesting. Thank you, Connor, for your tips.
I'm writing that down.
Thank you for the tips, Connor. Andrew,
I'm getting ready to time travel back, so I'm writing all of this down.
do you have a tip for 18th century?
Yeah, I think I do. I think, well, I use Tinder a lot, so I think if you're in the 18th century, you should just use Tinder. Download it to your phone.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right. That's probably a good idea, just to be safe.
There's a lot of dating websites out there. Just go on one of those. I mean, in the 18th century, I bet you can find some nice lady on there.
Probably right.
Probably
right.
some, I mean, like you can probably find some guys on there too. I'm
Yeah.
sure 18th century, very progressive time.
Interesting. I guess you have a point. Maybe
I don't use
Tinder.
Grindr.
You
I
don't
hear
use Grindr.
Grindr is. I don't use Grindr.
Oh, you don't. Okay.
I don't.
Why?
Why don't I use Grindr?
Yeah.
Because I'm straight, my guy.
Oh, my bad.
All right.
Okay.
I don't use Grindr.
Oh.
Okay. But I hear from gay friends. I'm not dating them. They're my friends.
Right.
But I hear from them that it's a decent app
Okay.
to hook up.
Okay. So awesome. Thank you, Andrew, for your input. Jacob, do you have any ideas of what to do here?
Yeah, my biggest tip is currently I kind of look on my own life and understand like where my failures come from with relationships, and I say the best 18th century dating advice: go to college, find a good major,
Get a major. Graduate with a major.
get a degree, just pass some classes, study a lot, learn a lot of things, and maybe take a course on love, because I mean, college will teach you a lot. It'll teach you what you can and can't do. For me, it taught me that I cannot reach 120 credits. So, yeah.
Well, excellent. Thanks, guys. That wraps up the segment Tips with Tanner.
Insert theme song here
Insert theme song here.
when we have one.
Let's get
We'll
to the bed.
We need a theme song. Anybody out there? Wait, nobody's listening to this.
No. not yet. By then, it'll be too late.
Jacob
Well,
Martin.
I-
Jacob Martin, make us a theme song, please.
Jacob Martin, we know you're
You made us
listening.
the website. Thank you so much. But theme song.
Link to the
please.
website in the description.
I think that wraps up the podcast in general. So, what do you guys think? Any final thoughts to the viewers and the live audience?
Bye, live audience.
Bye, live audience.
Bye, live audience. Love you.
Goodbye, live audience.
All right, well, now we got to kick him out because this still is Andrew's apartment. So,
You have a point. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you guys next time.
Bye.
bye.